Welcome to the Zoom Cat. Oh wait, wrong show. Um, Welcome to the Arca post race show. I'm Casey Campbell. That's Garth Allan from Racing News Now. What an Arca race we had! It's a tale of two races.
Don't steal my term. I said that to you. Thank you very much. It was though.
It was the tale of two races. I had to, get the intro going and all that.
Mm-hmm.
It was a tale of two races. A lot of interesting things happened. Let's go back to the beginning of the race. Parker Chase had this little thing in the fire inside the car with the dash or something. I don't know about you, but I've never seen a car on fire return to a race. I just never seen that.
I haven't either, but I've never seen a fire that was contained just to the dash. So in that sense, it was a different fire than what we generally see, and even different than the fires we saw later in the race. So there was a lot of weirdness going on there, not just with that, but there was a lot of weirdness going on just in the first 5 laps.
Yeah, and then you also have Drew Dollar and Daniel, and I believe Daniel Dye. Those two got into it early on there. When the broadcast kind of showed it, it really didn't give a good angle of really that. But Daniel Dye was able to, I don't think, put this under things I haven't seen yet. He mostly ran without a bumper cover.
Well, so what actually happened there? They were coming to the caution, which I don't know if the caution was actually already out yet or not for Josh White smoking down the front stretch. But he and Drew Dollar were racing, and he thought he was clear and just came up across Drew Dollar's nose coming out of the tri-oval, and that's what ripped the back bumper off. Apparently, his spotter had cleared him like halfway down the front stretch, and he didn't take it until then. Drew claimed that he gave him room, but clearly not if Daniel slides up into him. So yeah, there was a lot of weirdness going on there early on.
We also had a lot of cars went up in flames, literally. You had Will Kimmel, and then you had Andy Jankowiak as well. These cars, they when they flame up, they flame up.
See, and that was the weird thing to me. I don't understand why we had so many cars going up in flames today. We seem to have some tire issues, which is what caused most of this. Everybody'd be getting these right fronts going down. They'd end up in the wall. And from the contact with the wall, they would just burst into flames. And I don't know that I've ever quite seen that before, at least that many times in a race, to where you get a right front down, you hit the wall, and you burst into flames. And it happens multiple times throughout the race. I don't know that I've ever seen that before, and I'm not really sure why that was the case. It did seem a little weird. That seems to be the running theme for this race, is weird.
Yes. And that all happened in the first half of the race, really.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't see the caution flag for the rest of the race, really, after the break at lap 50. So lap leaders and stuff in there. Brandon Jones led a total of 33 laps. Raja Karuth had a solid day, leading 31 laps. Of course, Brandon Jones won the race. Of course, also Corey Heim finished second on the day. Raja finishing third. Connor Mozak, best crew finish in P4. And then Greg Van Elst, P5. 5 cars on the lead lap.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of typical for Arca at this point. I mean, how often do we have more than 5, 6, 7 cars on the lead lap? That's kind of the state of Arca right now. And that's one thing that I've been preaching on for a long time now, and it seems to fall on deaf ears because everybody gets so fixated on car counts. We need more cars in the race. Well, this is what you get when you have more cars in the race. We have 26 cars in this race, but only 5 of them are on the lead lap. We had some good racing for the lead, I'll give it that, but we should have more competitive cars than that. We should have more than 5 cars in the lead lap at the end of the race. So I don't know what you do about that. I mean, obviously that's not something that the series specifically can can fix themselves, but there's got to be some way to incentivize better performing teams showing up in the series. That's not saying force out the worst performing teams, but there's got to be a way to incentivize more JGRs, more Venturinis, more Revs, more GMSs to come into the series so we don't have 5 cars in the lead lap at the end of every race.
Yeah. It's something that I think the series is working on. We're seeing, more kind of competitive cars that are in there. I mean, it's not.
Are we though? Because we're still only seeing 5 cars in the lead lap. So
Well,
we're seeing a little bit more to the midfield, but we're not seeing that much more to the front of the field.
Yeah, that is true. You do make a good point there. So, let's talk about Nick Sanchez, Daniel Dye. The point standings are a little bit there. Daniel takes now second, I believe. I think Raja fully takes the points lead now, and now Daniel's got and now Daniel is now 5 points back of Raja, and I believe Nick is I think 8 points back, I want to say. And
that's a little bit more of a gap than what Raja would have had over those other two if we hadn't had so many weird things happening in this race. Nick was all set to, I believe he was in the top 5 late in the race, and then he had a tire go down late that didn't cause a caution. Yep. So he ended up finishing further back than what he should have. He ended up in 8th, and then Daniel Dye had just all kinds of a day. He had that lap 3 incident with Drew Dollar, and then he had Brian Dowza. I don't even know what happened there under caution. Dowza just flying down the backstretch and loses it under caution and just plows into the side of Daniel Dye. So Dye had all kinds of a day and somehow still comes back to finish 6th. Definitely should have finished better than that, had a faster car than that. So Raja definitely got lucky in terms of having more of a gap than he should have had leaving this race. But at the same time, at different points, Raja had a race-winning car. So maybe he still would have had this much of a gap leaving today.
Before I get to the next thing, I do want to correct myself. Raja has a 5-point lead on Nick. Sanchez is in second.
Okay.
Daniel Dye is 3rd and 7th. Also want to say we're at race number 5 of the season, so we get that 50-point bonus for all the drivers that competed in all 5 races so far this year. So Raja Karuth is first. Nick Sanchez is second, behind by 5. Daniel Dye is 3rd, behind by 7. Tony Breidinger is 4th, 46 points back. And then 5th, Amber Balkan, 51 points back. Let's talk about Amber Balkan for a second. You and I were talking before we started recording, and you've been very impressed by her.
I have been. That 30 car is not a great car. That's not a super competitive car. It's a decent car, but it's not a great car. And she's consistently running better than what I expected for her to run in that car. Solidly top 10 every single week, ran in the top 5 at different points today. Now, granted, there were cars that should have been in front of her that weren't for one reason or another, but still running top 5 at different points, solidly in the top 10. Very impressive to me. And honestly, it's amazing to me that she's only 5th in points right now. Like, realistically, I feel like she should be 4th.
Yeah. The Venturini cars, and also Tony Breidinger had not the best night for the 25 team.
She had a normal night for her. Let's be honest. I mean, I try to be as objective as I can with this, but she has finished she's had one top 10 so far this season, and that was Daytona. Other than that, she has been consistently outside the top 10, and it's not been bad luck that's put her there. It's just been her being slow. She was, again, 4 laps down at the end of today? She was 3 laps down at the end of Kansas. Nothing happened to her. She was just slow. And it's not that she's in a slow car. She's in one of the best cars in the field. So consistently, week in and week out, she is extremely underperforming in that car.
Yeah, for sure. It's we'll just have to see how this kind of all goes this year. She actually finished Yeah, she finished 3 laps down in 10th at Kansas. So
Yep.
would be yeah. So we'll see how that team does the rest of the year. But got a week off. Well, actually, no, Arca does not have. Arca West is back at Portland.
Main Arca has a week off.
Main Arca has a week off.
Yes.
Of course, they'll be at Iowa with the first combo race of the season between Arca and Arca East, and
we know how I feel about those.
That's another discussion. So we're going to go to Iowa. We're heading into now the short track portion of the season. We're going to head to a lot of the tracks that you want on the Arca schedule, like Iowa, Berlin, Elko. 3 straight weekends in a row of short track racing for Arca.
I mean, this is Arca. This is what Arca is supposed to be. This is what Arca should be. These are the tracks that are Arca's bread and butter. No, they're not on national TV. I mean, technically, I guess MAV TV is national TV, but they're not on Fox. They're not on NBC. They're not going to get high viewership numbers because they're on MAV TV. But at the same time, this is Arca's bread and butter. This is where Arca shines. This is where the true great racing tends to come out in the Arca Menard series, is on these grassroots tracks. I couldn't be more excited. These are the races that I look the most forward to, is all these short tracks that get peppered in throughout the summer and into the fall in this schedule. I don't know what more you could ask for as a race fan. Yeah,
because now you have, Sammy Smith will be taking over in the 18.
Yep.
We get Brandon Jones for the Arca Iowa race, so he'll be. I think this is the first of a 5 race deal that he's got going on. So you'll see him at Iowa. You got Raja, you got Nick, you got Taylor Gray, and then you got Daniel Dye as well, and then you got, of course, Jesse Love and a bunch of other guys. I believe you'll see some other faces at Iowa as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's going to be jam-packed. There's going to be a lot of really talented drivers that we've seen now for a while, drivers that we're very familiar with in this series. All those names that you brought up there, you throw in Brandon Jones for 5 races with all of his Xfinity talent, obviously picked up the win today, so we know he's going to be competitive in those races. I think we're set up for a very good summer stretch here.
Yeah, and a pretty good championship battle if we may, because those top 3 are gonna battle it out. I think we're gonna see Daniel and Raja and Nick up there fighting it for the title, but a lot of these are gonna be there because we got double points. So Sammy Smith and Taylor Gray are gonna have their own little battle as well, because they're gonna be battling those guys for the win as well. So
see, and I that's one thing that I think this might be the first time we have a different Sioux Chief Showdown champion than we do the main Arca champion. It very well could be the same person this year, but we got Taylor Gray, we've got Jesse Love, we've got Sammy Smith that are all going to be going for that this year. So it's quite possible this could be the first time in the existence of the Sioux Chief Showdown that we have a different Sioux Chief Showdown champion than we do the main Arca champion.
Well, yeah, remember also Ty Gibbs won, I believe Sam Mayer won the Sioux Chief Showdown in 20, and of course Brett Holmes won the Arca championship. So, and then of course Ty took both championships last year.
You're right. I've slept since then. That fact was lost on me. So thank you for reminding me of that.
No problem. I try to remember all that stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
look at that. I'm just out here making stuff up now. It's a prophecy. What can I say?
Inside joke.
I don't know. It's an inside joke only if you've watched this week's Arca preview show.
Yes. All right. We'll end the show on that. Garth, thanks so much for coming on. We'll talk to you in 2 weeks. You might be at Iowa.
Yeah, there's a good chance I will be at Iowa.
There's a good chance I might be at Berlin. I don't know.
Nice.
We'll talk to you then.
Yep.